You are watching Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco on Rider Nation Station, brought to you by these following fine sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Miller's Funeral Home, Eagles Lodge 767, Rabel's Auto Service, Plus One Professionals, Hoglaze Equipment Rental, Midway Trailers, American Legion Post 323, Albert Sporting Goods, Family Ideology, Speckman Automotive, Kogi Plumbing and Heating, Spees Chiropractic, Varsity Lanes, Minster Bank, VFW Post 9289, and Quinary Pizzeria.
Hello and welcome to Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco. Rider Nation Station is proud to bring you each week local official Mark Cisco. We bring him on to talk about what different clips we found from the game before and any questions or concerns about the officiating. So, Mark, thanks for being back here for another season.
Yeah, thanks very much, Zach. And we start off with putting our crew on the spot this week, right?
Very unique, I think. I don't think in the history of our show have we actually had a chance to watch clips from your crew.
From my crew.
So we got an exciting week here. We got a lot of clips to look at, but before we jump into them, let's talk about any rule changes for this season.
There was a couple big ones. One of them was, I'll start with the lesser. There was a timing difference with the play clock. You'll know as you go through the season now that any time that there is a defensive injury, a defensive helmet coming off, or a defensive foul during the game, that the play clock, if that's the only thing that happens during the play, that the play clock should be set to 40 seconds. The Rules Committee apparently thought that there was an advantage gained by the defense foul, and they thought, well, it's fair that if they're going to mess up, we're going to put 40 seconds on the clock for the offense to take advantage of that. So it's possible at the end of a game with less than 40 seconds to go, if there's a foul, let's say an encroachment by defense with 38 seconds on the clock, it's possible that, and there's no timeouts to be had or anything like that, that a team could run out the game without even snapping the football.
Wow, game over at that point.
Yeah, so that's not going to happen a lot, but for officials, we have to get used to that, and I know I probably missed that in the St. Mary's game last week once or twice, but we'll get better at that. The second big thing was the intentional grounding rule. Everybody's familiar with the out of the tackle box call that you hear at college or whatever. Well, welcome that rule to high school football.
Okay.
So basically it's not called the tackle box, it's called the free blocking zone, but once the ball gets outside of the free blocking zone, which basically is 4 yards on either side of the football, all right, once the ball gets outside of that, then you could have the quarterback throwing it away or the passer throwing it away, and as long as the ball reaches the line of scrimmage, whether in the field of play or even he throws it up into the stands, as long as it goes past the line to gain, which would be the first down, there's going to be no foul. And that'll happen probably 3 or 4 times in a season for us.
Yeah.
And that's typical of most crews across the state of Ohio. It doesn't happen all that much.
And what was the previous rule, that it could just be called on at any point in the field?
It could be basically if there was no receiver in the area and he launches it in a spot where there's no receiver, you're going to have an intentional grounding call. Okay. Now if there's nobody out there, as long as he gets outside of the free blocking zone and gets it up to the line of scrimmage, whether it's up in the stands or up on the railroad tracks or wherever, no foul.
I think that's come up a few times in our clips over the years, so that'll be a whole new different change.
It has, so that's a little bit of a change, but you won't see it a lot. You won't see it a lot, maybe 3 or 4 times a year where that will come into play.
Right. Any other changes?
Nothing big. There was a numbering change where now the number 0 is legal.
Oh, wow.
00 is not. 0, 01, 02, 09 is not, but the number, just a single digit 0, is now legal.
Interesting.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
I haven't seen any zeros on our team yet, but I can see in the future someone wanting that.
Well,
maybe.
if you have 100 kids or this or that or whatever, it's one more jersey number that you can put out there, and you see it at the college and level sometimes. So yeah, it's possible now.
You don't got to worry about duplicates of that way as well.
Correct.
Well, we also were fortunate enough to get an emailed question this week.
Oh, this early in the season.
Yeah, so we want to jump into this. I think that this stemmed probably from the Wapakoneta-Marion local game, where this was sort of a controversial moment of the game. But somebody called in, or somebody emailed and asked whether what was the rule when the ball was snapped over the punter's head and then the punter kicked, or I guess we could even say batted the ball out of the end zone then?
Okay.
How is that supposed to be handled?
Okay.
I think you're aware of the game, so how was that handled?
Well, yeah, the scenario is it's fourth and whatever, I think, for one of the teams, and the ball snapped over the punter's head. And the ball lands in the field of play, probably between the 10-yard line and the goal line. I'm not sure the specifics. But the kicker, the punter, at that point turns around, and the ball's laying on the ground, and kicks it backwards, and it goes out of the end zone. So normally the result of the play would be a safety. But you have a foul on the kicker for kicking the ball. It's illegal kicking at that point. So normal penalty for kicking the ball illegally is 10 yards. All right. So the defensive team has a choice. We'll take the result of the play and, in effect, decline the penalty, take the safety, and then the team that committed the foul would end up, kicking off like they do on a regular safety from the 20. Or we take the yardage from the point of the foul, and if we're inside the 10 or the 20-yard line, we're just going to go half the distance to the goal, and it's still fourth down. So the kicking team would have an opportunity to re-kick the football, if you will. Mm-hmm. What the crew did was they penalized the kicking team 5 yards and instituted what they thought was a loss of down, including with that penalty. So in effect, the fourth down play becomes first down for the defending team, because you can't replay a loss of down foul.
Right.
So they give the ball back, they give the ball to the other team close to the goal line, and away they went. Now,
Did the loss of down used to be part of a call?
The loss of down used to be part of
Okay.
illegal kicking.
Okay.
Yes, it did. But that's been going at least 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
So the crew is an experienced crew, and sometimes things happen.
Right.
They didn't do what they should have done. They should have got the rule book out and dealt with it. But neither coach, to my knowledge, didn't do anything, didn't raise a stink about it or whatever. So they did what they thought was right, and everybody was happy, and we move on.
Gotcha.
So,
well, as we know that refs are human too, so they make mistakes.
They are.
And I hope you remember that as we go through the 19 clips here of your own crew.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, at the point where I work a perfect game or my crew works a perfect game, we'll give it up at that point after the game's over.
Well, there wasn't too many controversial clips, but just a lot of, I think, basic things that we can look at.
Sure. No, let's go right ahead.
This first clip here was early in the game for St. Mary's, a fumble from St. Mary's. It wasn't clear whether he may have been down. I think that the commentators, Joe and Drew, thought that he was down. But
he was not. I can tell you that my wingman is looking right out. The ball was out before he was down, and there was no hesitation on his part. I had my umpire looking at it, and the wingman coming in right there, signaling right away, and my center judge. We've all got, and the thing you see flying in there from my center judge is in fact the beanbag, and not a flag. So
yeah.
they all had a fumble at that point.
We got an end zone view here, just showing the from the back.
Yeah, he's already got it down, and there's 2 bags on the play. So to me, that's a pretty indication that it was out.
Well, we got another fumble then, a couple plays later, unfortunately, for St. Mary's. Mm-hmm. I think this one was a little bit more obvious.
This one they did get away from him, I believe, right?
Right.
Yep. The ball's on the ground.
I believe that they ruled him down, though.
Yeah, I think you're right, because nobody's got a bag out or anything along those lines. And if I remember that play correctly, that it was kind of nope, he's down. And the coaching staff from London's not throwing a hissy. It's just one of those quick down, knock down type situations.
And I think this is that same play, just from the different view. We can see him come around the side, and clearly your linesman right there points to the ground, says that he's down. So.
Yep.
So an interesting way to look at 2 different fumbles, one down, one not. This next play, I noticed this when I was watching. The punt returner calls for a fair catch, but then sort of takes off like he's running. Not to a big extent.
Yeah.
But can that be called?
Is it possible a delay game call there could be? Yes, but that's the only foul that would be. It would be delay game. Now, if he'd taken 2 or 3 or 4 steps, probably.
Yeah.
But probably my back judge is on the whistle at that point. No. Whether it's my crew or any other crew, that's a cheap foul.
Yeah.
That's a cheap foul in my estimation. And one step there is not. The kid forgot where he was for a second and went, nope, I'm done.
Well, I guess I thought more importantly is if a St. Mary's player would have hit him at that point.
Then we got a choice. Now we got a choice. Do we have a dead ball foul for a late hit on St. Mary's, or do we go, you know what, everybody's at fault here, and if the kid, if it's not a personal foul, if it's not one of those really I'm going to really come at you and drive you into the ground type situation, we probably let it go and tell the coach from London, hey, tell your kid to stop.
Right. Don't take off.
And we're not going to penalize him because your kid took off, and what else are they supposed to do? Right?
That was more what I was concerned with, because you start doing that, and then it's hard for the coaches to understand when they need to take off or not.
It's common sense officiating sometimes. So.
Well, I wanted to talk about the referee's position on this play.
Okay.
Would that be you?
Up in the upper right-hand corner?
Hat?
Yep.
All right. I just thought that we don't get this view a lot, or this angle.
That's right.
And I always thought that the referee was more directly behind the quarterback, but when I looked it up, I said, oh no, that is the right position to the side, right?
It is right. 15 yards, or when we're snapping between the 15, I'm supposed to be on the goal line and at least that wide, at least 8 yards wide there, and I'm told that I can't leave the goal line no matter what happens there.
So outside of 15 yards, you're a little bit closer?
I would be 15 yards back and 8 yards wide of the football.
Okay.
And what you don't see there is my center judge. He's on the other side, and he's either on the goal line or he's supposed to be on the end line. They've changed that mechanic a little bit for us because they figure there's 2 important lines there. Then we've got at least enough people to cover both lines. We're going to do that.
And you got views right on the goal
line. So he's a long
way
away from the football at that point. But if the ball gets loose, then somebody's got to be back there.
Well, it's very interesting. We don't normally get to see that angle very much, so I thought that was
I'm fairly quick, but I'm not that agile to get back there anymore. So there you go.
This next play was a kick return. Right towards the middle of your field, you can see number 32 for London. I just thought he got away with a little bit of a hold there. Right at the top there.
Okay, well,
let's rewind it a little bit.
Let's see that again if we can.
So if you look at the around the 25-yard line at the top of the screen on the right hash, 32 engages right there.
Right there.
And then you can see 4 pull away, and he kind of pulls them back. But
that's fair. I mean, that's fair, and I'm going to defend it. Maybe we should have caught that, but by the same token, we're going to go, look, he got away from him, Ford got away from him, so to speak, and makes the tackle for whatever it was worth. I don't know if my wing guy looked at that. Probably did, and he probably passed on it. Truthfully. It wasn't something that I guess we felt we didn't need to call.
We've talked about that before, though, too. That if it's away from the play and the player still can get away from the hold and make a tackle, then it's not always.
Yeah. Did he prevent him from getting there and tackling him a little bit deeper? Maybe not. He had good position on him. So it could be. We could argue one way or another.
We could probably look at a lot of plays and find a holding somewhere on the field every play. But that one stuck out with me because of the way it was.
Sure.
Like,
it just looks a little odd.
That brings us to our next play, which was a holding call that was called. Right. It looked like on the receiver right there. Sort of pulled down the guy by his shoulder pad.
Sure.
We'll watch it again here. So it's a quick pass out there. The other receiver grabs the St. Mary's guy and sort of spins him around there.
That flag comes in from a long way away. My back judge got that one, and that's his key out there to take a look at that play. You don't often get that out of the back judge, but he had him, spun him around a little bit, and the coaches looked at it when that's a foul. So I was glad to see the flag come in there.
Just your next play is just your basic false start.
We had a couple of those, I think.
Yep. I don't always know how many total plays I'm going to get, so we just include those. But
that's an easy one. That's an easy one to get.
Yep. And the next play, a little bit. I thought it was a little bit less, but it was still before the snap. But the tackle just sort of leans and then goes.
Yep. He was a little early. They're listening for the sound, and any difference in cadence, quarterback sometimes will do that. Linemen get used to ding, 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 the same cadence all the time, and we changed up, that could be a problem.
I'm sure something that Coach Fry will work on in practice this week.
Sure that, yeah, he told them that they're not worth 5 yards, and we go forward.
Earlier in the season, fall starts, but that kills a St. Mary's rushing drive.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Well, we also may have missed a holding on St. Mary's, so we were fair on both sides.
Okay.
If you look at the wingback to us, 45 right there. I don't know. He kind of gets under the guy, but then he sort of also pulls him down.
Let's see it again. I was looking at the wide guy coming out here. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's possible.
Just stuck out at me as something that it wasn't. I didn't think it was as too crazy obvious, but definitely got under his pads, and then the guy sort of was pulling away from him. Maybe he was a little past the running back, so maybe it didn't make as much difference.
There's a lot of stuff that goes in there, and each crew's going to see something like that differently, and we may have missed it.
Well, we've got so many clips that we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be back with some more clips that we go over with Mark Cisco just after this.
You are watching Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco on Rider Nation Station. Brought to you by these following fine sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Miller's Funeral Home, Eagles Lodge 767, Rabel's Auto Service, Plus One Professionals, Oglaze Equipment Rental, Midway Trailers, American Legion Post 323, Albert Sporting Goods, Family Ideology, Speckman Automotive, Kogi Plumbing and Heating, Spees Chiropractic, Varsity Lanes, Minster Bank, VFW Post 9289, and Guarneri Pizzeria.
Welcome back to Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco, where we bring you local official Mark Cisco every week to talk about some Rough Rider clips. This week's extra special as Mark's able to critique his own crew a bit.
Yeah, there we go. Yep.
Thank you to all our sponsors, by the way, in that commercial break. We couldn't bring you Rough Rider Nation Station without the sponsors. So we're going to jump right in here. I thought this was maybe a little bit of an uncalled face mask.
Surely not. Surely not.
And as I say that, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think it was uncalled against St. Mary's here on the rusher. See, right at the tackle right there. The left arm sort of pulls.
It sure looks that way. But the only thing I would say there is, did the hand get to the side of the helmet and not get in the face mask? It looks odd if we call that there. I'm sure the higher powers that be would support it. It looks a little odd. I'm thinking that he got the side of the helmet and not the mask. But
yeah,
for us to tell right there, don't know.
It's always easier to look after the fact. This was an interesting play by London. I don't know if it was a trick play, if it was...
No, they were confused. Because
Okay.
I thought the same thing when everybody's moving around. I'm thinking, wait, this is a play that we're going to probably have to call back.
The quarterback lines up under the guard.
In the center, and I was waiting for him to snap the football.
Yeah,
I really was.
Yeah. Would that have been legal at all? If
he could line up underneath there, but the problem is if they snap it, now we've got an illegal formation because the quarterback is not in the position to receive the hand-to-hand snap.
Okay.
And he's not on the line of scrimmage, and he's not a back, so it would be technically an illegal formation.
Yeah.
So we'd flag it, the ball gets snapped, and St. Mary's falls on it, then we're going to decline it, and St. Mary's going to take it, and away we go. Yeah, I was watching that too, and going, oh, this isn't going to end well. I think the clock was ticking down and everything else.
Right.
So I think they called timeout there because
they
realized that he was under the wrong guy.
I couldn't tell if it was a trick play or just didn't know what was going on.
No, they were confused.
All right, well, that's one to remember there.
Yep.
Lining up under the wrong. He won't forget that one.
No, he will not.
Unfortunately, this was a personal foul called against St. Mary's, number 4, I think, on the tackle. Just rode him too long out of bounds and sort of, I think, an extra push or maybe some extra.
I think what it was let's not just say
some extra language.
It was yes. Let's do it that way. Let's do it that way because I think I signaled unsportsmanlike conduct. I think. I don't recall, but yeah, there was some chatting going on that shouldn't have happened.
And then I just thought we'd talk a little bit about London's pre-kick formation. They like to, I think maybe Kitten did this Kitten did a little bit different on PATs, but I know we've had some teams in the past do this, but they like to run as sort of a group up towards the ball, and then they reset, and I guess that's to set it up for an onside kick. How often are they allowed to do something like that before it becomes delay game?
Well, they got 25 seconds after I blow the whistle to get the ball off. And
that's
what
I was wondering.
They will probably kick out of that somewhere during the season.
Right.
At some point they will.
Right.
Yeah, and it's perfectly legal so long as they have the required number of guys on each side of the football when the ball is kicked.
I just wasn't sure how long they had to, so it's 25 seconds once the ball is set. You can pretty much do whatever you want as a kicking team
pretty
before
much
that.
Anything you want before you do that within the rules. Sure.
Right,
Yep.
right. Well, this next play was an interesting run by Mabry. Sort of looked like he was tackled, but actually rolled, I think, onto the defenders and his own players, and was able to keep his feet going. And
yes,
still
he was,
going.
and I had a good look at that, from the other side of the field, following him, so to speak. I was clear on the right side there, and it had never appeared that he was down. I mean, I got an umpire that's looking through there. He's kind of clouded. My wing guy's down here looking. The back judge is looking. My center judge is right behind it looking, and we didn't have a whistle. Now, did we miss it? Maybe. Probably not. Because, the kid rolled over him, and he had the fortitude enough to keep going.
Didn't look like it on the replay. It looked like he kept his knees up. So I thought that was a good call by your career there.
Sure.
Just wanted to talk about London. They had a lot of quick passes out there, and their receivers would step backwards. Mm-hmm. And just wanted to point out, I guess, that in the rules that's technically a run, and it's a backward.
I don't know how it goes down in the stats book. I know it's not a forward pass, but the problem for us there is who recognizes that, because if the ball gets away, now we've got a live ball on the ground. So the wing guy standing at the top, you can see his feet there. He's going to have the primary look because he's looking down the line of scrimmage. My center judge might, I take note of where the quarterback's standing as to where the ball is caught. And, you'll see guys punch backwards, and out there on the field we're yelling back to let everybody know we have it backwards.
It's a live ball if he misses it.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering about, was how you look at that as a crew and how you make that determination. So
a lot of times I can't see that if it's quick because I'm back too far, but the wing guys have the best look, and they should signal and let us know.
Well, this next play was the 2-point attempt. And I wasn't clear. I wasn't at the game, so I did they get this, or was it ruled that he didn't make it to the line?
I don't recall whether or not he did or not.
I don't see any.
There's nobody running in there, so to speak.
Yeah. I don't see any calls that say.
I don't think he did.
Okay.
I don't recall, but normally if we're going to have something that close, my wing guys would be charging down the field. But they're stationed now on the sideline, whereas a kick for try, they'd be in and about the numbers, so they'd be closer.
Right.
So they'd have a long way to go, but I don't believe they got it. You'd have to check the stats and see what's up. I have no idea.
Well, St. Mary's' next touchdown.
Now, this is a good one.
Yeah, we had an extra point. I initially noticed that I thought that London hurdled the snapper. I think the announcers talked about it too during the game.
Well, let's look at that first. He comes over the top, which is okay there because we're not really, they're not really doing the classic hurdling and whatnot. And he's trying to get through the gap. So I can see that. So we got nothing there. Uh-huh. What's more interesting though is what happens to the football, and I've got a flag. I got a flag on this play.
Okay.
For illegal kicking by St. Mary's.
We saw a flag, and I think we thought maybe it was for hurdling, and then we had to re-kick. So it was declined.
Illegal kicking. All right. And London's just going to decline that because to accept it, we're going to move him back 10 yards, and then St. Mary's would have the opportunity to re-kick the football.
Right.
And I didn't consult anybody, didn't need to, because I've been around this game for 40 years, and sometimes you just know.
Right.
And London they were going to decline it.
So
I didn't do a very good job announcing it because there was a lot of confusion.
Right.
I heard afterwards in the stands, the press box, or wherever. So if I'd have got on the microphone and said we had illegal kicking, the penalties declined, there's no points, we're going to kick off.
So we talked about that earlier. Once that ball in that snap is no longer sitting on the ground and it's laying on the ground, you can't kick it.
And the angle doesn't really show that, but the ball was loose on the ground.
Right.
And
can it be re-picked up and set down on the tee again?
He could have, but by that time he had
too late.
14 guys on him, and he's not going to go anywhere.
So if that ball's laying on the ground, you can't kick it. It needs to be in the tee or set up or held.
It needs to be held in place. That's the idea of the place kick. And of course, in high school, the defense can't pick up a botched extra point and run it back for points. So it's dead.
This was a holding call on 45. I think 45 is the second to the end player for London towards the bottom of the screen, and it was called,
by my wing guy, I think.
Yep, right there, sort of holds on to the guy.
Oh yeah, he's got a hold of him. Yep. No, Rich gets that one from the center judge. He's got him. Yeah. That was a classic grab and restrict right there. Yep.
It came from pretty far back too. Holding called on St. Mary's here. I think they caught it on right there on number 45, and I believe, we've got a.
I see him up right at the top of the screen.
Right at the top of the screen. I thought it was a little ticky-tacky. We got another view of it too that actually shows that.
Looking at it from here,
right.
I would.
Sorry to end on a bad call here.
It's all good. I mean, it's all good.
Last clip, but
I haven't seen the film yet, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
45 right there. Doesn't really look like he really gets too much of them.
Yeah, well, I agree. I've got 2 flags on the play, so I'm like, well, somebody saw something, but I tend to agree with you on that one.
All right. Well, I'm glad I got one there. So, Mark, this has been really neat to be able to watch clips from your own crew.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Yep.
I want to thank you and your crew for you get paid, but it's really a volunteering thing, and we've talked about the need for
officials.
Yes. If anybody out there is interested, get to a class and start getting into it, because we need you guys.
And you know what? If we could talk about that next week, that might be a good thing, because they've changed the way classes are run and things of that nature.
Let's do that next week. That gives us something to look forward to.
Right.
Hopefully I have more clips from a Rough Rider victory at Defiance.
Yep.
And we'll see everybody next week on Rules of the Game.
Thanks for watching another episode of Rider Nation Station. Help us help you by subscribing on YouTube or following us on Facebook.